Strong words. Love. Soul. And change. Yeah. This is Big Snoop Dogg. Coming at you live and direct. And I got something to say. You dig?
Let's change the world. Divided we fall, but united we stand. Let's change the world. No fights, no wars. Oh, let's learn to love again. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Whoa, oh, oh. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's make hope for the future.
Brother, what will you discover if we come together and do it like we never? I'm just sick and tired. I'm fit to light the fire. Now put this on the wire. The devil is a liar. I do this with no hesitation. Meet me at the reservation. Elevating, educating, meditating, concentrating. Replenish ya, finish ya, opposite of sinister. And I do it for the minister.
Let's change the world. Divided we fall, but united we stand. Let's change the world. No fights, no wars. Oh, let's learn to live again. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Whoa, oh, oh. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's make hope for the future.
Somebody need to stop the war. Man, the war ain't overseas, it's at your front door. And I done seen too many brothers shot up on the floor for more than drugs and some colors. And now you call us warlords. But if you can help it, then help it. But you ain't helping us. You so selfish and selfless, you wanna see us breathless and helpless. But I'ma hustle and tussle for all my brothers who struggle. Yeah, we bang the world. Now let's change the world.
Let's change the world. Divided we fall, but united we stand. Let's change the world. No fights, no wars. Oh, let's learn to love again. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Whoa, oh, oh. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's make hope for the future.
No killing, no shooting, no dying, no lying, no gang banging, so no more mamas crying. Everybody get along, man, that be the perfect song. Peace in the streets as I sit back on my phone, chilling with the president. He let me in the White House, back to the castle with the minister, no doubt. Shoes at the front door, love is what you come for. Let's get it right and unite, but do it front.
Let's change the world. Divided we fall, but united we stand. Let's change the world. No fights, no wars. Oh, let's learn to love again. Let's change. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Whoa, oh, oh. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's make hope for the future.
My album. It's an album that speaks from the pain of the heart of a little boy wanting to see his people free.
Yeah, this is Big Snoop Dogg. Coming at you live and direct.
This is a project that attracted some of the most brilliant, award-winning musicians and artists.
Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Whoa, oh, oh. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's change the world. Let's make hope for the future.
Brother, what will you discover if we come together and do it like we never? I'm just sick and tired. I'm fit to light the fire. Now put this on the wire. The devil is a liar.
Don't let failure ever stop you. Use your brain, use your creativity. For example, look at Slack. That thing came out and that was a complete failure. They too tried a game. The game didn't work, but whatever Slack was became the success. Was a dialogue on the side of it. So it's one of the most important messages I have for entrepreneurs is that failure should inspire you to get smarter. And unfortunately, our school system says if you fail, you're stupid. That is not true. We learn from our mistakes. Mistakes are opportunities to get smarter, be humble, and take a look at something. So anyway, the cash flow board game, just like Slack, was a failure. So I had to write Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is a true story about my rich dad and my poor dad. And suddenly I went on the Oprah show and suddenly I became famous. So anyway, that's an entrepreneur story. That's who I am. Most of the young people your age today, a lot of them want to become entrepreneurs. The problem with this, you have to understand tax. You see, this is all over the world, very little difference. These guys pay 40% of their money in taxes. So they make $1,000, they're going to spend $400 in taxes. These guys that make $1,000, they're going to pay 60% in tax. So our schools are teaching entrepreneurship, but they're not teaching them tax. Okay? And because they're focusing on income. Over here, it's 20% in tax. So they make $1,000, only $200 goes to tax. And these guys, 0%. So the reason financial education isn't working in our school systems is they're teaching financial education for these people and these people. But to really become rich, you have to focus on this side here. And that's the difference between a rich dad and the financial and what they're teaching in school right now. I'd rather be on this side. This side is a lot harder, but in the long run, it's more fun for me. On this side here, it's harder, but you're paying tax constantly. So these guys here are saying tax to rich. Well, these guys don't pay taxes. And as strange as that may seem, and I'm talking about legal, this is all over the world. So that's the big difference here. One last thing, which I think most millennials understand, is, in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I wrote about Ray Kroc, founder of McDonald's. And he was teaching at the University of Texas, the MBA program. And Ray asked, and most of the MBAs are going to come out here. So Ray Kroc asked him, he says, what business is McDonald's in? And everybody yelled and said, no, we know you're in hamburgers. And Ray says, no, we're not. I'm not. McDonald's is not hamburgers. McDonald's is in the business of real estate over here. So what you have McDonald's here, and the money McDonald's makes buys the real estate. And that is my formula. This is Rich Dad. I own real estate. I don't hang out here. I'm glad you guys are here, right? And we do our best to make sure you're educated and you have your own businesses and things like this here. But really the formula I follow personally is McDonald's. We have education company that buys real estate, which means we make a lot of money, pay zero taxes legally. The difference is when I left my high pay, so I got a job with Xerox. So that's the last job I ever had. So when you look at the cash flow quadrant here, ESBI, here I was, okay? And I was making a lot of money at Xerox.
Yeah.
I went to Xerox for one thing, not the money. I worked at Xerox because I had to learn how to sell. Because entrepreneurs have to learn how to sell. So I was preparing for this quadrant here.
Yeah.
But I was really preparing for the big business quadrant. So I took a job at Xerox for 4 years. So I was preparing for these two quadrants here. So when I talk to young people like you're here in social media,
Yeah.
you're learning the same thing I was learning at Xerox, except you're learning technology-wise.
Yeah.
Very smart.
100%. That's exactly
Right.
what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
And one thing I actually really do appreciate when I worked at the bank was that we were very sales orientated, and that's all that mattered. And I think that's where I got a lot of my sales skills too from.
Correct.
Like
Talking
it
to
was
people.
learning how to get rejected
Yeah.
and finding a way to not get rejected
Good,
next time.
good.
Mhm.
So the lesson to young people is don't take a job for the money, take a job for what you're learning.
Yeah.
So would you mind giving us some of the entities you use?
Sure. We have the good, the bad, and the ugly. And on the bad entities would be a sole proprietorship. And that's where you do business in your individual name, right? There's absolutely no protection here. All of your assets are exposed to a claim.
A lot of people have those.
By default, you get into business, and if you don't form a corporation, you're a sole proprietor, and all of your assets are exposed. We also have the ugly entities. These are the ones we really don't want to get involved with, and that would be the general partnership. And this is liability times 2. And I just went down the line there. General partnership, if you shake hands with someone to get into a business, you have become their partner. They can obligate the business, and you're personally responsible for what they obligated the business
Let me
for.
give you an example.
Yeah.
There was a company, a lumber company here in Phoenix, and there was 2 people got together and they shook hands and they formed as a general partnership.
Right.
One partner's daughter ran over somebody. And because what happened then?
The other partner was personally responsible for
the
that
other
accident.
partner's kid.
Right. So that's the ugly way to do business. And it can happen with a handshake. It's called innocent formation. You shake hands with someone, you get into business, you're personally responsible, not only for your own mistakes, but your partner's mistakes. So you'll never do business as a general partnership. Then we have the good entities. And the government gives us good ways to do business, good ways to protect ourselves. And these are LLCs, LPs, and corporations. These are the good ones. LLC stand for limited liability company. Limited partners, LP stands for limited partnership. And then we have corporations. These are the ways you're going to move
C
forward.
corporation, C corp. And
We
that's-
have different taxation. You have a C Corp, which is double taxed. We have the S Corp, which is a flow through tax. There's only one tax. You're going to work with your CPA on what is best for you.
In school, they compensate for risk by telling you to memorize the right answer. So in other words, these kids leave, young people like you leave school thinking, oh, if I know the right answers, then there's no risk. And it drives old guys like me crazy because everybody's talking about millennials. What's wrong with them? You know, millennials are the most highly educated generation in history. They have the cell phone. They didn't get educated in school. They got educated on social media, on the cell
Yeah.
phones. They know all the answers, but they're afraid of doing anything.
Yeah.
You know, the biggest complaint about my generation is millennials know all the answers, but they can't do anything. And the reason they can't do anything is because you might hurt somebody's feelings. You might make a mistake. You know, and that just keeps you guys just trapped in this little.
Family standby. We're working on trying to bring Bishop Sutton in, and we're trying to work through that. In the meantime, I'm going to offer you a welcome to the presentation here today. And I have Bishop on one screen, but we can't get him on the main screen. So he might be talking over speakerphone, and I'm not sure if anyone will be able to hear it at some point. So we're still trying to work through it. Bear with us. We're live, and Bishop can hear us. And what we had.
Box.
Can you see me now? Yes, sir, we can. All right, family, I'm gonna put you on mute. Stand by, stand by. We're bringing Bishop in. All right. All right, family. Welcome to our edition of Classes in Session. We're going to bring this back a little bit to give you perspective as to why we are gathered here today. You just heard a little bit from Robert Kiyosaki, and he was sharing some of the advice that he has for entrepreneurs.
Don't let failure
six
ever
lessons.
stop you. You know, use your brain, use your creativity.
And I implore you to go back and follow that stream in a minute. Okay. And so again, welcome. And what we're doing today is discussing the new normal. We're discussing the new normal and what it actually means. So let's give you a little perspective first.
Currencies have been backed by oil, by gold and silver, by land. As soon as you remove something that you can't, something that puts financial constraint on, where you can't just print as much of it as you want, the currency is pretty much doomed. Basically, you know, we used to use gold and silver, and then they come out with representations for gold and silver. All the currency in the United States and in most countries was redeemable for gold or silver at one time. Our currency used to say there have been deposited with the Treasury of the United States $100 in gold coin payable to the bearer upon command. You go into any bank, slap down your currency on the counter, and ask for your money, your gold and silver, and they would give it to you. I directed Secretary Connolly to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold or other reserve assets.
Never in the history of the world has this ever happened. In 1971, the U.S. and Nixon convinced the entire world to replace gold and silver with paper money. This stuff. Cash is trash.
They just type them into a computer, the dollars. They don't have to print them anymore. It used to be that you had to mint coinage to expand the currency supply. Then you had to print paper to expand the currency supply. Now all you do is you add zeros to it.
The Federal Reserve has been given the power, the authority to create money out of thin air. But it is absolutely horrific. We look back in history for the last 3,000 years, every episode of this kind of silly crap ended bad.
When everyone realizes what's happening, it's going to be a gold rush into this thing that will be it'll just blow people away.
It'll be the biggest one in history.
Yeah, it's going to make even the shares, it's going to make the NASDAQ boom look like nothing.
It really put this economic crisis for people to start waking up. People in the United States are discovering that, it's in our Constitution that only gold and silver can be money in the United States. And that the Federal Reserve notes are illegal, unconstitutional money that we're not supposed to be using.
They don't even have to print this trash.
Right.
It's electronic. That is how fast it's going to hit you.
And that in itself should tell you where we are. Hey, Bishop Sutton, how we doing?
How you doing, Brother Eric? Good to be with you this morning.
Yeah, great to be here with you as well. Any day above ground is a good day for the many, for all of us. And we're excited about the opportunity we're sharing today. So let me just give you the genesis of where we are. I have a 6 p.m. program I do Monday through Saturday, Eastern time, on YouTube channel called The Quarantine Life. And The Quarantine Life is exploring issues that we face that aren't generally discussed in public. You know, we offer anecdotal things. We offer things that we can do in this new this emergence of the pandemic, but we found where institutions were reporting failing, schools, medical centers, law offices, stores, churches, daycare centers. And so we wanted to take the vantage point of sharing how they can be maintained and how they can survive, because as wealth builders, we have solutions. So I'm going to show you the topics that were raised. I'm going to share this screen here, Bishop, that were raised in terms of the 10 things the pandemic has changed for good. There are 10 things that were cited. This came from an article in the AARP by Mr. Adam Markowitz back on the 4th of May. Now, look, it says working from home, seeing your doctor, shopping for groceries, staying in touch, wearing face masks, going to movies, traveling by air, riding public transportation, protecting your privacy, washing your hands. This is cited in this retirement elder community magazine as the 10 things the pandemic has changed for good. I want to cite one thing before we move to Bishop. Oh, hey, Bishop, how you doing? You looking good there, Doc?
Thank you, Doc. Free gold. Ask me how.
That's right. Now, we affectionately know the bishop as the dean of Wealth Builders Worldwide University. He has coined it, and for obvious reasons, he'll explain on his own. But perspective, God would not put anything upon us beyond our ability to handle. So this shot came from Miss Tanisha Glaspie. I thank you, Miss Glaspie. God would not have put a dream in your heart if he hadn't already given you everything you need to fulfill it. That's a little perspective. Okay. So working from home is the number one thing on their list. And this is what I want to cite for you. Now, the outbreak abruptly introduced tens of millions of workers to telecommuting, and data from the Coronavirus Disruption Project suggests a lot of them like it. 42% of survey participants said the experience has made them want to work from home more. 61% of those who are teleworking said they are enjoying the relaxed attire and grooming standards, greater flexibility and lack of a commute. And 78% said they are effective or more so working from home. Quote, I think there will be some upside, end of quote, to this disruption that workers will want to preserve, says Deborah DiNocenzo, the president of Virtual Works, a consulting firm that advises companies on transitioning to telework. Look how they give it their own phrase. It's not work from home or working at home or staying at home or home-based business. It's telework. Anyway, she continues, she says, families are going to be spending more time together, she says. I think people will be more adamant that they want more time to work at home and not go back to all the crazy commuting they were doing before. For many, that will sit well with their bosses. Nearly 3/4 of corporate finance officials surveyed in late March by Gartner, a business research and consulting firm, said their companies plan to move at least 5% of on-site workers to permanent remote status as part of their post-COVID cost-cutting efforts. This is serious, folks. This is serious because this speaks to, number one, what we've been doing all along. And secondly, is giving the world a taste of the freedom that many of us already enjoy. We were already home as wealth builders, many of us. We were already financing our freedom. We were already digging our well before the water was needed. Now the world needs our well. And the world needs us to pour into their well, pour the water of knowledge, truth, and righteousness and service. And we have that ability. So with that being said, I want to move straight over to Bishop. And dear brother, give us a little exegesis on the story of how you got your glory.
You are too much, Brother Eric, and I'm satisfied with it. Listen, first of all, good morning to all of you that's listening to this live stream. And Brother Eric, I want to thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this this great communication this morning. And I'm just so excited just to be on the platform. I just want to say to our listeners this morning, if you have not, or if you do not have a knowledge of who this gentleman is and what his lineage is, I would invite you to Google Stokely Carmichael and get a view of the great work that this man done, who happens to be Brother Eric's father. I want you to do that because I think it'll give some perspective to who you're talking to and the kind of individual that's sponsoring this live stream. First of all, I just want to say to you that this is our time. Now, that might sound a little funny to people that are listening and going through some horrendous situations, but I believe this. We use a very little portion of the brain power that God has given us. So I believe, gospel according to Ernest, nothing sacred about this. I believe that this tumultuous time is challenging us to challenge ourselves and use our brain power in ways that we have not been challenged to use it before. And I believe that when God made us, he said everything he made was good. And let's think about this. We have been created by the mind of the master, and that's God himself. So he has equipped us with all that we need to do anything he told us that greater things that we would be able to do. One of the things that our education system, I believe, has failed in, our traditional education system has failed in, is that we have not had educators that has raised the level on challenging our mind, as the scripture say, to higher heights and deeper depth. We've settled, and because we settled, we have become lazy-minded, if you will, lazy-minded. But God is so good and he's so miraculous that every now and again, he creates an environment to use the mind that he gave us, because he said in his word, let this mind be in you that was also in him. And this pandemic has given us and challenged us in ways that we have never, ever been challenged before. And Brother Eric laid those 10 things out just a few minutes ago in ways that we've been challenged. And there are many more ways that we've been challenged in this pandemic. But for every challenge, and certainly we have one now, there are opportunities. And the opportunities that we have now is to be able to, as Mr. Best say, not only do we have to dream bigger, we have to think larger in order for us to be able to navigate this new normal. And I believe with all of my heart that one of the key ways that we have to navigate this new normal, because this new normal goes back to a lack of finances, a lack of being able to understand and navigate the system that we're in. It's a lack of. So we have an opportunity, particularly, ladies and gentlemen, Karatbars, to speak to the financial, our financial situation in ways that was always there, but we had not, for the most part, uncovered those ways so that we can adjust to the new normal. Now, let me just say this. Gold has been around ever since God created the earth, and it has had intrinsic value. But as as Brother Eric said, in 1971, Nixon changed the game. He changed us from using real money gold to paper money trash. And we have bought into that system, but here comes Karatbars International and Wealth Builders Worldwide coming and speaking to the hearts and souls of the world and say, let's go back to what's real. And what's real is gold. And what does gold do? It addresses those needs, whether it be a housing, whether it be, medical, whether it be telecommunication, whatever it is, speak to those things in real money gold, because the scripture says money answers all things. Now, we have the answer in Karatbars International and Wealth Builders Worldwide. And ladies and gentlemen, interestingly enough, Mr. Harold Sides, who has an extraordinary mind for the people of the world, inputted in his mind was the way that average folk can take advantage of this system called Karatbars by using gold, real money, as its base to address the needs of our people across the globe. What a phenomenal platform and opportunity this man, Harold Sides, has given us to take out into the world to address this new normal, this pandemic that is plaguing the world. And listen, Wealth Builders Worldwide, Mr. Ty Best and his wife Valerie Best, when they tapped into Karatbars, they already had a platform of people across the globe, but now the connectivity of Karatbars and Wealth Builders has come together. And we have an opportunity from the least of us on up to seize this opportunity, Karatbars. Ladies and gentlemen, God has given us the answer to adjust into the new normal. And I want to say this finally, Brother Eric. People all over the world are clamoring, trying to adjust and find solutions to their new normal. It is a challenge. We may think that we're doing well or fairly well in this new season of this pandemic, but many of our people across the world are suffering, and they don't know what to do. People are in depression. They're at their wits' end, and they don't know what to do. But I believe that we have a way that we can address those needs of people. And I have suggested to Brother Eric a way that we can go about helping folk navigate this new normal that we're in. And we'll talk about that a little more, but Brother Eric, back to you.
Bishop, we thank you for that opening. Do us a favor. Some of your audience is asking you to sit back in your seat because they see your forehead and your cheekbone. They don't get to see you and those beautiful silver cloud on top of your head.
Is that better?
They let me know. Yes, it is. It is. Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah. So, family, let me give you a little background to how this has come about. You know, Mr. Best, our CEO and founder of Wealth Builders Worldwide, he always states, and I'm paraphrasing this, he said, experience will trump a theory any day of the week. Any day of the week. Yeah. And we have an experience here that shows us that we have the solution. So let me just share a little bit about that. What has transpired here is that, excuse me, 1 second there. Okay, what has transpired here is that Bishop has a wonderful church there in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, and they experienced a financial situation, a wake up, a reality that beg them to do differently. He's already identified that gold is money. He already identified that. And when he learned it and learned the powerlessness of the dollar and learned of the gangsterisms of the banks, he prevailed in another way that served as an example across the country, across the nation. Churches, spiritual centers, community centers, home-based businesses. These are, I'm not home-based, I'm sorry, but owned businesses, such as such as daycares and private schools, things that do entities that do not qualify for some of the grants or charters or stimuluses that are being doled out right now. They are hurting. Nursing homes that don't qualify, they are hurting, but they're charged with the responsibility of serving people. So, Brother Bishop, if you would share your experience and how you corrected it, and then we'll go on and to share what the greater responsibility that God has placed on us as wealth builders.
Let me give a little brief background on how, first of all, I got involved in Karatbars. Miss Kim Pong, most of you know Miss Pong. Miss Pong was a person from Vietnam, came over to this country, could not speak English, didn't know anybody, and lifted herself from her bootstraps and has become a powerful person in the community that has built wealth for she and her family. Anyway, Kim introduced me to Karatbars, and I blew Kim off for 3 months. But she called me one Sunday morning and invited me to her shop to hear a presentation on Karatbars. Lo and behold, when I got there late because I got lost. But lo and behold, when I got there, my mentor and my friend and my confidant, Mr. Karatbars, was up talking about this thing that Kim had introduced me to that I had not listened to. Sincerely, he broke down what we were doing in Karatbars. And ladies and gentlemen, you've heard me say this over and over, and I'll keep saying it. I thank God for Mr. Karatbars and his wife, Miss Valerie Best, because when Mr. Best opened up the whole idea of this money system and shared how the banks was leveraging our money and leveraging our people's labor for their benefit and giving us nothing in return, I was totally wiped out and done. And I was done because I realized that as a pastor, one that's called to be a good steward of the resources of the people, that I had not done a good job. Not that I didn't want to do a good job, but you don't know what you don't know. And that's why one of the reasons I have tagged Karatbars Wealth Builders Worldwide University, because in those few moments, I got an education that I had not received in my whole educational career. I'm a four-year college grad. I've been to Harvard. I completed Harvard's School of Healthcare Negotiation. I've had other education, but I had had nobody to tell me, first of all, that gold was real money. And I had nobody to explain to me or educate me about how the banks were leveraging our money and our labor. But I got that education that day. I became a VIP. My wife on November the 4th, November the 13th, which is her birthday, she got a VIP. And I start to thinking about, how do I convey this message to our parishioners who, like I was, knew nothing about money and how money moves or flows. We were just blindly depositing our money every week into the monster, which I call the bank. And this was taking advantage of our parishioners, many of them that were on fixed incomes. Many of them sometimes gave money that they didn't have to give, but because of their love for the church and the people of God, they gave anyway. I want to share this with you. And I want to invite you to, if you don't believe what I'm saying, particular faith leaders, go check your bank account and see how much money they paid you in the last interest they paid you on your money in the last year. I promise you, if you have not done this, you'll be shocked. And many people know what they paid them, which is nothing, but because we are creatures of habit, we just keep doing what we've always done. But Mr. Best and his wife, I start to drip on our board of trustees, and my daughter is the chairman of the board of trustees. And ladies and gentlemen, she is tough. She questions everything. And I knew I had to start with her. And when I started to talk to her about this new way that I wanted us to go to maximize the utility of my money, boy, she took me down the road, man. And I can't blame her for that, because I taught her that. My wife and I taught her that. But make a long story short, Mr. Best had a conference with us at our education center, he and Mrs. Best, and that was our precursor to conveying to our board of trustees that we needed to change the way we utilize the church's money. This process took, and it is a process because you have to educate people. This process took us about 3 months to finally get our board in a mode to get a free gold savings account and then shift some money from our traditional account to our gold account. Ladies and gentlemen, particularly faith leaders, if you have not looked at Karatbars, if you have not investigated what the banks are doing to our people, I urge you with all sincerity to do so. It will open your eyes. But we are VIPs. We save every month. Our church saves every month in our account. And I will tell you, it has left us smiling. Now that same daughter that gave me such a hard time is an avid believer, and our trustees are avid believers. In fact, all of our trustees now have accounts, and all of them are saving and go. All are not VIPs, but 3/4 of them are VIPs themselves. So, Brother Eric, this system that God has given us has positioned us to financially deal with this new normal in ways that many other churches have not caught on to. But we want them to catch on to it, because business is not as usual. We can't even go to our church houses now. Our giving has been challenged. The church itself, which is not the buildings of people, are suffering, but we have a solution with Karatbars International, and Wealth Builders Worldwide University can educate us to how we leverage that in ways that we would not believe. Back to you, sir.
Yes, sir. Well, let's take a look at that now. Let me give us a little formula, family. You have a business or an entity. Your business might be 501c3, it may not be. Okay? But let's say if you're a worship center, a mosque, a masjid, a synagogue, a temple, a church, and you have something like a 501c3. Well, that's a status that you never want violated. And at the same time, you want to position the parishioners with security and insulation, okay, and make them feel comfort as they give. Many of our spiritual centers are suffering because we did not have the financial literacy, as Bishop Sutton has explained, the challenges he had for those first 3 months, okay, and getting the awareness there, getting people to understand the power, because financial literacy escaped us because it was not intended by the enemies to give us residual income. It was intended by our enemies for us to be their residual income. So the knowledge base wasn't there for us. Didn't mean it wasn't the skill set. We're talking about the knowledge base. Okay. So once Bishop was able to expose what was going on in the bank, you know, in terms of what they were saving and what the return was, it was a wake-up call probably beyond description. But when you set up an LLC or an S corp or something that protects the entity, protects the 501 status, the whole of the church as well as the congregation, because now, did you know in many states it's against the law for you to be outside selling chicken dinners, doing car washes, going door to door asking for donations, because you don't have a self-employed status or a 1099 status as a member of a church, as a member of a any house of worship. So therefore, you're really set up for persecution, prosecution, if someone just doesn't agree with your being there. But when they successfully set up that entity, it insulated the believers of the church. So now, no, we don't necessarily have to be out there doing those things, but if we are doing them, we're doing it under the auspices of a protected entity. Okay. Now, here's the other power that we're experiencing with a couple of our churches here in Atlanta, where I'm talking to you from today. We have a pastor who, she has a church. Now, some people just refer to them as storefronts. So that doesn't matter. It's a church. It's a house that's giving over a word. And what she did, she didn't have the protection of the 501c3 status. She opened up her storefront. She got her LLC. She allowed people to come. She took out an account. She got an account for the LLC. The members took out the account under that LLC. They tithed to the account, and they were saving in gold. Some decided they would do it as a business. Others did it as a business and saved. So what did you do? You took people who were operating on a fixed or no income and gave them a home-based opportunity. And as they grew in the opportunity, they were now willing to give more and freely because they were freed up. You see, many of us are now treating charity and tithings and different offerings as a bill, because we're being made to stretch between what we have in linear income. You clock in, you clock out, and whatever's in between, that's all you got. Or if you retired on 40% less income, then you're operating out of those means or lack of means. And if you're in the age group that I'm in, where the baby boomer status, where you have elders in front of you you may care for, which is a beautiful responsibility to have, or you may have your children behind you because their demographic doesn't speak to the opportunity income-wise, doesn't speak to the purchasing power that they need for the family they're developing. Now everybody's consolidating. We're downsizing. Everybody's in the same home, and we dole out the responsibilities of that home like a deck of cards. Oh, so today you get the bill, you get the light bill. Tomorrow you get the car note. Today you get the house note. Tomorrow you get the groceries. You see, that is not living. That's surviving. And that's not what God intended for children of abundance. You see? So, yes, sir.
Go finish your point, sir.
I would just to say that Bishop offered a tremendous example that allowed us to extend it to other professions. We have doctors who have now found a way to successfully sign up their staff and offer them grams of gold in their own account with their pay period. That serves as their benefit. You see, there's an attorney in Pennsylvania who wanted to get out of the expense of paying the workman's comp of $2,800 a month for a staff of 7 people. He couldn't afford the HMO and the PPO plans as that larger employers are made to navigate through. So what did he do? He suspended his workman's comp coverage because it was not required. Then he gave every pay period into their own account a gram of gold. What happens as that builds? You will then have the medical coverage that Warren Buffett has. He's covered by assets. The wealthy are covered by assets. We're the only ones arguing between Medicaid, Medicare, and these things. We've earned them. We earned the right to them. But look at the hurdles you got to jump through. Go ahead, Bishop. I'm sorry.
Every time you open your mouth, another thought comes. I want to speak directly to the church leadership, pastors, imams, bishops, whomever. I want to speak directly to them for a moment. You notice that I said that it took us 3 months to go through this process. Most of our faith leaders are concerned about securing the church legally. In the process of us this 3 months, we formed a corporation with the status of 501c3 because we wanted to protect the church. We didn't want the church to be, and we couldn't do it anyway, but we didn't want the church to be connected to the business. So we have an entity that's a 501c3 status entity that we went to our attorneys and got that set up. Therefore, one, we're able to receive donations to do good business and service for the community. It is tax deductible, and it insulates the church proper from having the threat of liability to the church. So they're 2 separate entities, but all geared to do service to the community as a church organization. So that process is very important. We learned a lot going through that process, but what we learned is that we had to have the church secured legally, and we have a legal entity that we can receive and distribute and employ people and pay them. This is like this, ladies and gentlemen. We can employ people and pay them for some services that we provide to the community. That is incredible. And as Brother Eric just said, to the extent that people understand the value of what we have in having our church house, and there are other entities that you can do the same thing, insulated in that way, and become our own employer, and not only our own employer, but become our own banker, and bless the people that are part of the entity. Listen, Karatbars was made for such a time as this, to shore up the economic power that we have in our togetherness. The scripture says 1 can chase 1,000 and 2 can chase 10,000. Man, what would you have if you had 10,000 chasing? And this is the opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, particularly church leaders, that we have. Open your eye and open your ear gate to receive what God has given this man, Harold Size. And listen, The scripture tells us to mark the perfect man. Robert Kiyosaki tells us that much of his wealth, and he's a billionaire over, much of his wealth comes from saving gold. Now, if he's a billionaire, listen at this. Your financial advisor, I guarantee you, doesn't come to the billionaire status. And listen, and he's advising you, or she's advising you on how to handle your money. That's insane, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not coming against a financial advisor. What I'm saying to you is, tell your financial advisor about Karatbars International. That will add some fodder to his business, because he will be telling his clients then about this real money gold thing that billionaires have proven. Here's what the scripture said. He said, prove me in Malachi. Prove me now here, Will, if I will not open up the windows of heaven and pour you out a blessing that you won't have room enough to receive.
That's right.
That's not me. That's God's word. Don't blame me. Blame the messenger, because it's not me. But I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, we have something in our hands that will change not only your life and not only the life of your parishioners, but will change the life of the community real time. We have it. Back
Bishop,
to you, sir.
If you would offer some closing comments, and as we draw this to a close, family, I want you to know that after the bishop's comments, I'm going to share a couple of items with you. One is the fact that one of my favorite clips, it comes from Pastor T.D. Jakes, Bishop T.D. Jakes, of which you will hear and see regarding courage, because it's welcomed in this hour. Not only is it needed for others, but it's welcomed by those of us who understand the hour. And we have the opportunity to share with people. That's number one. Then on top of that, again, this is Farrakhan Music Month. On Monday, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan turns 87 years young. And every one of these segments, we offer a musical selection from a box set that he has completed, known as Let's Change the World. It was titled with a title track from Snoop Dogg, the hip hop artist and rapper. And you're going to see, or not see, but you're going to hear a selection at the end of the discussion from Bishop. And that selection is coming from, Lord, I lost his name just that quick. But you'll see him. He's a Trinidadian calypsonian. And while in Trinidad, he produced this cassette tape and said he wanted the minister to hear it. So his son Joshua heard it first, and then he brought it to his father, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And it's titled Hail Farrakhan. And because it spoke to the root of his mission and spoke to the root of his calypso roots, his West Indian roots, he added it to the box set. And that's going to be the feature that closes us out today. So I thank you all again. Bishop, closing words, comments, please.
Just a few quick things. One is, I want you all who have not Googled Stokely Carmichael and what he has done for the world, and who you have here in the person of his son. I want you to Google that to learn about him. You need to know that. The other thing I want to say is a shout out to Minister Louis Farrakhan for his courage. And I think when you hear Pastor T.D. Jakes, he's going to talk about courage. I want to thank Minister Louis Farrakhan for having the courage to speak truth to power. We need truth, and we need to speak it to power. The final thing that I want to say is, I have asked Brother Eric if he would be so kind, and he has agreed to such, as to form a committee of our wealth builders, leaders, and others to have a dialogue about how we help our community navigate this new normal and deal with this pandemic. We have great minds in wealth builders. We have great minds otherwise, but I've asked that we form this strategic committee to isolate different issues that our community are going through and give them some perspective on how they're able to navigate this new normal. We have an opportunity as people of conscience and as people of faith and as people that have grasped and wrapped their minds around what real money is to help our community navigate this system. People are having hard times, but thank God that God has given us a way to help our brother. Yes, we are our brother's keeper, and we should be about that business. So, Brother Eric, I'm hoping that we can start to doing some strategy about how we fashion this dialogue so that we can be a blessing to our community. Back to you, sir.
Absolutely, and we'll do just that. Family, that's going to conclude our presentation today. I want to thank all of you for your chiming in, your comments, your well wishes. I'm going to give some quick shout outs here. We have Brother Abdul Rahman, Brother Rafus Jones Jr., Gloria Bass, Glenn Perkins, also known as Dark Gable, Roland Muhammad, James Marshall, James A. Marshall, Esquire, Brother Gregory X. Powell, Sister Trina Purdue James. Greetings to you, your husband, and your baby girl. And of course, Sister Alicia, the mentor, my mentor, Brother Hakeem Booker, Ronald Vicks, the other half of the Vicks, Miss Diane Ship, Renee Gant. Happy birthday, Renee. I'm sorry I missed it, but I saw that you celebrated well. You had your balloons, bells, and whistles, so we appreciate you. Brother Hillman Muhammad, the courage to change now is in the house. Thank you. And Sister Santoya Stacy of Tay, Ray, and Toya. Midday Live. We appreciate you and all that you do. Danny James, you know how you do, brother. We appreciate you, Brother Gary Carroll. Thank you so much. Beverly Bolden, my little sis, Kwame Bento, Ready for Revolution. Good to see you, soldier. And Sister Tamika Rhymes. Thank you, family, for the honor and the privilege to come before you and represent information that will absolutely change the world. So again, thank you. Bishop Sutton is not the last of the conversations. The other one that he proposed is already underway. And we're going to learn more about that, hear more about it, and we're just extremely excited with the opportunity.
Lady Sutton sends her blessings, Brother Eric.
Sir?
Lady Sutton sends her blessings to everybody.
Oh, please return them. Please return them. And we want to do a real deep exploration of her book, as well as a great exploration of her legacy and her ministry. And I would love her to give it in any language she'd like to, because, you know, she's well-versed. You know, she brings new meaning to speaking in tongues. You know, big shout out to Brother Khalito Muhammad, Kalfani Radio. Hey, Sister Damawi, and of course, Linda Johnson Spence has been following us all the way through. And Brother Al, we thank you all for the opportunity. Let's move on to the other portion. Bishop, we thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing all of you again in the next edition, which is Monday, 8 a.m. on Classes in Session. Tonight, 6 p.m. I'm on YouTube. On the Quarantine Life, on the Eric Ture Muhammad, on our Facebook page there. Appreciate your family. Peace and blessings. Forward.
Shalom and peace.
Strong words, love, soul, and change. Yeah, this is Big Snoop Dogg, coming at you live and direct. And I got something to say. You dig?
Let's change the world, divided we forward, united we stand. Let's change the world, no fights, no wars, oh let's learn to love again. Let's change the world, let's change the world, let's change the world. Oh, oh, oh. Let's change the world, let's change the world, let's change the world. Let's make hope for the future.
You gotta have the courage. Do you have the courage to act outwardly on what you see inwardly? Or will you die a dreamer Will you die on the verge and on the edge and in the land of coulda, woulda, and shoulda? Do you have the courage? I'm going to drop some on you. It takes courage to be successful. It is far easier not to be successful. Misery will always have company. Success breeds contempt. If you don't want to make waves, be mediocre. Be normal and fit in. And if you're more concerned about people than you are God, then neutralize everything He put in you. Just fit in with everybody else. Dress like them, walk like them, act like them, eat like them, go where they go, think like they think, do what they do. And once you neutralize your uniqueness, you don't need courage. It takes courage to be different. It takes courage to go where you've never gone before. For some of you, it took courage to come to this conference. It takes courage to get you outside of the box. It takes courage to be successful. It takes courage to win. People don't talk about people that don't win. If you win, they're going to talk about you. Do you have the courage to stand there till the storms keep raging and the people get to talking and you stand there and say, I've come too far to turn around? Do you have the courage? I'm going to say something to you. It takes courage to be exceptional. It takes courage to be wise. It takes courage to be rich. It takes courage to be educated. It takes courage to be knowledgeable. Because some of you don't talk like you don't forgot where you came from. Look at you talking. It takes courage. And I'm just wondering, in this weak, watered down, mediocre society that we live in today, in this reality TV world we live in today, I'm wondering if there's anybody left that's got the courage to say, after all I've been through, and all my ancestors have been through, and all my parents have been through, I didn't come through all of that just to fit in with normalcy. I have the courage to go after my dream. Is there a woman left in this entire Coliseum that's got some courage?
My album. It's an album that speaks from the pain of the heart of a little boy wanting to see his people free.
Yeah, this is Big Snoop Dogg coming at you live and direct.
This is a project that attracted some of the most brilliant, award-winning musicians and artists.
Let's change the world. 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 Let's make hope for the future.
Brother, what will you discover if we come together and do it like we never? I'm just sick and tired. I'm fit to light the fire. Now put this on the wire. The devil is a liar.
This one rules the nation. You're right. I'm listening. We ain't gonna wait for no pie in the sky. When we die, we want it on the ground while we around. Listen, I left the Caribbean to come to this country. It was the land of milk and honey. Milk and honey. I'm walking from paycheck back to paycheck. I can't see no milk or no honey. No honey. the eyes of us Africans.
Open your eyes.
This great leader, you must agree, was sent by God to inspire me. Hail Minister Farrakhan.
Hail him. Hail him.
This Caribbean American African.
Hail him.
Preaching the gospel to set us free.
Freedom.
We will die for both you and me. Hail Minister Farrakhan. Hail Minister Farrakhan. Hail Minister Farrakhan. This intellectual conscious man. Look what happened in America. I hear the CIA is the drug pusher, killing our black youths with crack cocaine, poisoning and messing up the young brain.
It's a shame.
But it's not only in America, the Caribbean, Europe, and Canada. This mass genocide that was planned, designed to destroy us Africans. Hail Minister Farrakhan.
Hail him. Hail him.
This Caribbean American African,
Hail him.
preaching the gospel to set us free.
Freedom.
For the truth, he will die for both you and me. Hail Minister Farrakhan. Hail Minister Farrakhan. Hail Minister Farrakhan. This is the intellectual conscious man. I hope you're listening. It's not about race or religion. It's about my people's total freedom.
Freedom.
Whether you're Muslim, Christian, or Hindu,
Freedom.
Rasta, Mauritius, Shango, or Jew. It's one thing I want you to remember. The million man lives by the minister. Bringing men together from all over. Yet they call him anti-Semite and hate-monger. Hail Minister Farrakhan. This Caribbean American African, preaching the gospel to set us free.
Freedom.
For the truth, he will die for both you and me. Hail Minister Farrakhan. Hail Minister Farrakhan. Hail Minister Farrakhan. This is the intellectual conscious man. I am no racist. I am just simply speaking the truth. Inshallah. Listen to the truth, my brothers and sisters. Wake up from the sleep and open your eyes. Let no one put us against each other. Cause you know they only want to divide and conquer.
We are proud.
Rally around Minister Farrakhan. For the final call is soon near at hand. Racism poisoning every nation. There must be divine intervention. Hail Minister Farrakhan. This Caribbean American Africa. Preaching the gospel to set us free.
Freedom.
For the truth will die for both you and me. Hail Minister Farrakhan. Hail Minister Farrakhan. Hail Minister Farrakhan. This is the intellectual conscious man.
Thank you, everyone. We will see us Monday morning, 8 a.m., and it will be here at Classes in Session with a special tribute and day for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. He'll be 87 years of age. We're going to premiere a movie, the backdrop of what went into producing this life journey through music. So we're going to show that to you on Monday with some very, very confirmed special guests. Thank you, Bishop Sutton. Thank you again. Peace and power, family. I'll see us all at the power call, 10:45 a.m. Eastern, in just an hour and some change. Peace and power.
Peace, sir.